Okay, cast your mind all the way back to April 17th to 19th. Little did we know it then, and little did Sony know it then also, but someone was hacking their way into the PlayStation Network, the online service for Sony's PS3 and PSP consoles. The passwords of 77 million PSN users were compromised in that they were accessed and potentially nicked, as well as email addresses, home addresses, and secret security question answers. None of the data was encrypted, except for the user's credit card numbers. So Sony pulled the plug in reaction to the breach, and the PSN was all... and we were all... but Sony was all... It wasn't until some days later, on April 26th, that we had official word on what was happening when Patrick Siebold, PlayStation's Senior Director of Corporate Communications, told us on the PlayStation blog,
"An external intrusion on our system has affected our PlayStation Network and Curiosity services. In order to conduct a thorough investigation and verify the smooth and secure operation of our network services going forward, we turned off PlayStation Network and Curiosity services on the evening of Wednesday, April 20th.
This came on April 26th after some days of uncertainty and a lack of communication for which Sony has drawn plenty of criticism. On April 21st, Siebold said,
"It may be a full day or two before we can get the full service back up and running."
Though on April 22nd, Sony did warn of an external intrusion on our system, and on April 23rd, they called the task of getting the PSN secure and back online time-consuming. Along with the PlayStation blog posting on April 26, Sony began emailing PSN users all over the world, telling them to look out for identity theft made possible by the personal data from PSN accounts falling into the wrong hands. On April 29th, the US Department of Homeland Security joined the FBI in helping Sony track down the perpetrators of the hack. Then on May the 1st, we heard from Sony Computer Entertainment head Kaz Hirai from a press conference.
"This was a highly sophisticated attack by a highly skilled intruder who invaded the system and took steps to cover his tracks," he said. As a make good to the 77 million odd PSN users around the world, Sony also outlined a Welcome Back program, a free month of the PlayStation Plus service and so far non-specific free entertainment content downloads. It's a modest compensation package, you might say. At the time of recording, the most recent action on PSN Outage front is bad news rather than good. Sony Online Entertainment, which runs Sony's massively multiplayer online games such as EverQuest 1 and 2, DC Universe Online, Free Realms and Star Wars Galaxies, has also come a cropper, taking its game servers and websites offline. SOE confirmed that information on 10,700 European bank records may be stolen, along with credit card details of nearly 13,000 and personal information for 25 million customers. Seemingly, Sony Online Entertainment System was breached back on April 16th or 17th, as well as the PSN. On May the 3rd, Sony said to expect the PSN to be back online in some form later in the week, which is something if you've been desperate to crack on with Portal 2 Co-op or Mortal Kombat Online. But what else should you be doing? Chris Gatford, director of security consulting firm Hack Labs, told GameSpot, "I wouldn't lose sleep and I wouldn't rush out and cancel credit cards. I'd be more disappointed with Sony. Most consumers will be protected by their banks against fraudulent transactions." What's harder to quantify is the loss of personal information. Say you used your mother's maiden name as a security question or used another question you use for other websites. This information can be used by attackers to access other services you use.
Meanwhile, Nick Elsmore, head of delivery at information security outfit StratSec, says,
"Be alert of anything untoward happening on your accounts, and if the password on the PSN is the same as you use elsewhere, then just go ahead and change it. Should you cancel your credit card? Personally, if something happened to me, I would call the bank, get the fraud reversed, and then cancel the card from there."
So watch out for identity theft, that is, people using your personal information to pose as you to apply for accounts elsewhere, or accessing any other accounts that shared passwords or security questions with your PSN account. But don't panic over your credit card details. And though at the time of recording the PlayStation Network is still down, when you get back on it you'll have to change your password. Password. Yeah, that'll do. As far as I go, as far as I know.
Beyond that, once Sony's patched its hacker hole and locked down its system once more, it'll be a case of picking up the pieces of its reputation with widespread coverage of the breach and outage in the mainstream media. This is exactly the kind of publicity a platform owner doesn't need. To find out how Sony's getting on with that, how it's going to make amends to its users, and how its army of vengeful ninja assassins are doing tracking down the hackers that started it all, keep it GameSpot for the news.